What about the other side? If I had to be, okay, it's Christmas Eve. Yours is the only pew that's left, and there's just a ton of people coming in. Somebody's going to have to sit down, an elderly, whoever. Do they climb over you? Are you going to slide in, or will you get up and let them go in? What's the policy? You will stand up and let them go. Are you just saying that because she wants you out of this, or is that really what you will do? You would do that? It's very kind of you. It's very charitable of you. Well, only Christmas and Easter, I understand. You don't want those Christmas and Easter Catholics, they show up on an extra day. No. Don't let them in. Well, this is it. No matter where you go, the Mass is the same, the readings is the same, the Eucharist is the same, and that guy's the same at every church I've ever been to in my life. There's always a Joe. You know what? From now on, I'm calling him Joe. You get royalties, of course. Everybody gets royalties. You can rave like the Queen for all I care. You're a royalty on this show. So every church I ever go to, from now on, no matter where I am, excuse me, Joe. I don't care if it's an old woman sitting there. I'm going to say, excuse me, Joe. And she better stand up and get out of the way and let me slide in. So talk to all your little pew sitter friends, pew hugger friends out there. I want to make sure we understand this. Another high of being Catholic, which is the low of being Catholic at the Mass, the sign of peace. Doesn't matter where you are. Warm climate, cold climate, clammy hands, right? Somebody's got a clammy hand to shake when you're at this thing. That sign of peace. Nobody makes eye contact, by the way. You can't get anybody to make eye contact on this planet. You sit there, peace be with you. They're always looking on to the next one. Somebody's always better than me. Well, who do I got after this guy? Is there anybody else? There's the clammy hand, there's the no eye, and then there's I went to Mass today. It's just, I don't, you know this thing here where it's only a part of the hand that's being shaken, this part? What is this? Hello? And she's grabbing it as if they're like, she has tongs and she's grabbing something off of a buffet, and she's just grabbing my 3 fingers. I'm like, well, this is not the sign of peace. This is the sign of 3 fingers you've taken from me. Look, you don't want to do the sign of peace? That's fine. I don't know. I'm not going to force you to have the peace of Christ be with me. But no matter where I go on earth, what do I get? Hello, it's a clammy hand, it's a short hand, it's never eye contact, it's always something strange when I go to Mass, and these are the lows. And by the way, knock this off. I don't like this at Mass either. Every Mass I go to, somebody's going to go, 60s are over. Okay, we're over. Unless we're promoting the ABC show V, which is already canceled now. Well, at this point, I don't want the sign of peace being offered to me that way. So, the word Catholic means universal, and yet at the same time, there's always something like the people at Mass that are the highs and the lows. As Christians, we are all part of the body of Christ, and as baptized believers, we all are supposed to do our part in some way to evangelize. Now, for the most part, we like to see our priests doing the work. We want the priest to do all the heavy lifting, and we're happy to watch you do all the heavy lifting. I can see by your expression, Father, you're thrilled by the idea. But that's the way most of us are, you know. But the priesthood is 3 square meals and no heavy lifting. Well, then nobody's doing any lifting, apparently, because the sisters, lay people love it. The sisters can do the work, the priests can do the work, but we sort of feel like we don't really want to do the work. But here's actually a high of being Catholic, and this is something I truly believe, is that Catholicism in the United States, that's the largest denomination in terms of Christianity. Catholics are number 1, and you may or may not have heard the second group are ex-Catholics or former Catholics. If they were their own group, I mean, they're not their own group, but if they were their own group, they themselves are the second largest group of Christians in the United States. And one way that I always look at part of a high for our baptismal call is, yes, we can go out and we can knock on doors and we can preach the gospel and we can teach and we can do a variety of things, but if you're something like me, God forbid, and you're not that interested or it seems like a lot of work without being paid, one of the highs of being Catholic is knowing your faith and believing in the faith and just being an example in your day-to-day life. It doesn't take any, it's not like you have to show up for meetings for it. It's not something that you have to sign up on a list for. It's really just being Catholic can be a great example to coworkers, to friends, to family, to the people who maybe have a negative impression of Catholicism at this point, people who have only had negative thoughts about Catholicism. that lay people's responsibilities in many ways can be fulfilled by just knowing about Catholicism and being the nice, normal Catholics that, I don't know, because one of the universal things that I have, and we'll see if anybody agrees with this, is most of us have a really religious member of the family that's a little overzealous. Anybody recognize that, an overzealous? And by the way, if you don't, you're the one. So that's how you can identify. Like if my aunt was here right now, my aunt wouldn't raise her hand. I'd say, Marianne, it's you. And that's how you know it's you. And she's always got the best intentions, but she's always, Lino, here's another book. I said, I know, I thank you. Another book about Catholicism. Lino, did you pray the rosary today? Lino, did you do? And she's constantly, and by the way, I do all the Catholic stuff. When the family gets together and my rest of my family members who maybe don't go to church until other than Christmas and Easter and things like this, and then when she's asking them, they only see this as, oh, what a turnoff this Catholicism is. A real high of being Catholic can be, without being making a big scene and guilting everybody into it, saying, I'm going to church, I'm going to Mass, I'm going to Eucharistic adoration, I'm going to go to prayer, whatever it is, making it a part of our lives at work, at school, wherever we might be. Like at work, to me, the people who I always see as most impressive are the people who, for instance, on Ash Wednesday, and now I live in New York, and at Sirius, when we have people from all over the place just on this one floor, from Howard Stern's channels and the Playboy channels and Martha Stewart and Oprah and the Catholic channel and the sports guys, and we're all on one floor. And the music channels, and I'm always most impressed by not the people who work on the Catholic channel who show up with ashes on our forehead, because when the priest shows up with ashes on his forehead, nobody thinks what a witness this is. This man's really, really saying something here. But I saw it just this past Ash Wednesday. A guy who works in the sports department who I don't know what he does other than smokes. This man smokes more than anybody's ever seen. Probably 25, 26 years old. He's on permanent smoke break. He's always outside of the building smoking. This is all I've ever seen him do. Looks like he's in excellent shape. I don't know if he eats. I think all of his money is spent on smokes. And he just sits there and he smokes and talks sports to all of his buddies who are outside on their smoke break. And then his buddies seem to go back in, and a new shift comes out, and he's smoking with that new shift. This guy's great. Nicest guy in the world. I saw him at Mass on Ash Wednesday, and I looked over, and I almost made a scene. Hey, the smoker isn't smoking. He's actually in church. Went and got the big ashes on his forehead. And he works on one of the more popular sports shows that the company has. And the host of the show happens to be Presbyterian or Methodist or something like right off of Catholicism that I haven't taken the time to learn. But, it's just, over there. And so I go, okay, because he's not evangelical, he's not Baptist, he's not a Jew for Jesus, he's just right over to there. And you never quite understand what his story is. And the host even asked, hey, what's the deal? You got the ashes. And now this to me is a great thing of being Catholic, is this guy doesn't have to have a PhD in theology, he doesn't have to pray the rosary every day, but he believes enough in his faith to make that public witness and to say something about this. And to me, that's a witness that we all can have as being Catholic. He doesn't have to know scripture and verse, he doesn't have to know everything. He knows, maybe he didn't know that it wasn't a holy day of obligation. It's not a holy day of obligation. No, nobody has to go. And so maybe he knew that, maybe he didn't, but he went nonetheless, and he wanted those ashes on his forehead. He wanted people to know what he believes in, even though I thought he only believed in smoking. He believes in something bigger than that. He believes in Catholicism. And to me, that's a real high, because that's a bridge that now he is building between that host and anybody else, including myself. Now when I see him outside smoking, I give him a nod, but it's really about it. We really don't have anything else to talk about, because I only know two things about him now. He smokes and he's Catholic. It's not enough to build a real relationship on, but I look at him and I nod and he nods, and I say, see, there's something here that can be beneficial to spreading the gospel, as it's attributed to St. Francis said, preach the gospel at all times, use words if necessary. And I think a real high about Catholicism is that we don't have to constantly be telling people, are you saved, or are you ready for the rapture, but that our own witness on Ash Wednesday and any other day of the year can be an example of what the Christian faith is about. Now, for me personally, this becomes a low sometimes, because I'm constantly trying to be the Catholic guy and reach out and meet all these different sorts of people, and sometimes that gets me into, if not odd situations, uncomfortable situations.